Welcome back to another post-game episode of Banditland Boulevard. Trevor, Hauer, and Tony LaMonica here. There are no more undefeated teams here in the National Lacrosse League as far as the 2024 season is concerned, as the Buffalo Bandits go to their other second home, maybe their third home, up in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, and beat the Toronto Rock in a high-powered shootout. 30 combined goals, 16 to 14. Bandits are 4-3. If the season ended right now, they'd be hosting a quarterfinals matchup, so that's really, really good. And they knocked off their arch rival, the only undefeated team left in the Toronto Rock. Tony, how you feeling about this one?
Well, as good as any other Bandit fan would. I mean, you got the Buffalo Bandits going in at 500 with 3-3. Not sure what the whole story is going to be this year, and going into Toronto and not only beating them on their own turf, like we could call it a trap game, if you will. But they squeaked by. They played as one, and they grinded it out until the very end. And again, there was some scares that possibly might be leaning the other way, like how New York was looking at. But until then, they never quit. So good job for those guys to come out on top and win 16-14.
When I walked out of the arena, because that was the first time I've ever been to the First Ontario Center. When I walked out of there, I said the Bandits played a good 44 minutes, and I guess it
Mm-hmm.
was good enough to win the game because they started off. They had an 8-3 lead there in the second quarter.
Yep.
Um, Matt Vince didn't give up a goal until the 20-minute mark of the game, and
Mm.
Toronto still scored 14 goals. Up 8-4 at halftime. And then when we were there in the third quarter, we were down 10-9. So it was back and forth the whole way. Bandits jumped out to a 3-0 lead early. They were up 8-3. Then they were down 10-9. Then they were up 16-10. And then
Mm-hmm.
they started their rally back, and they made it a 16-14 game. It was just a wacky game, very physical. Didn't see the gloves come off at all, which was interesting in a Toronto Rock Buffalo Bandits matchup because you usually see one fight, maybe two. Um, you see the occasional line brawl between these two teams, but just back and forth. Matt Vince was nails in the first half, and then the second half he looked extremely, extremely beatable. Uh, and our secondary guy stepped up once again. If you look and you watch the highlights of that game again, Ian McKay bursting into the scene, scoring the first goal of the night to break the goose egg to go up 1-0. Steve Priolo, the captain, cashing on two goal scoring opportunities. I said, look out for Chris Cloutier to have a big night. He got 6 assists, and he has 200 career points on his NLL career. So congratulations to the Deuce himself, number two, Chris Cloutier.
Yep.
That's a great accomplishment. Chase Fraser, he's in a contract year. He's playing like he's in a contract year. He's scoring 4 goals a night, and the goal to go up 11-10 there in the fourth quarter. The chicken wing move there on Rogers, and then going up against two different guys, throws the behind the back shot. Nick Rose didn't even see it. So I want to say ESPN top 10, more like ESPN top 1, because Chase Fraser, that was a hell of a goal. I think it's right up there with the through the legs goal against Nick Rose last year at home. But Chase Fraser is out of this freaking world good.
Yeah, Chase has really proven once again, like I said, that you get him at least 2 to 3 goals per game. That's key to the Bandits' victories, especially how well he has stepped up his game uh, from the start until now. And again, like I said, 2 goals, that's good enough. 3 goals, that's impressive. 4 goals, my goodness. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better secondary scorer like Chase to score four, especially that no look behind the back beating Nick Rose by his right pad, and just he didn't expect it to be there. And again, like you said, top 10 ESPN goal. I'd say it's number one in the list.
I think so too. And that was coming off of a third quarter where he got popped in the chin. He got cross-checked right in the face. It was a 5-minute major. I didn't even
Yeah.
think he was going to return because he had like two athletic trainers helping him off the field. Like this isn't good. The game is tied. I believe we were actually losing at that point, 10-9. I was like, we're losing. We just blew a 5-goal lead and we're losing 95 to injury. Like this really sucks. And then he comes in the fourth quarter, storms on the scene, and scores one of the best goals I've ever seen anyone wear in a Bandits uniform. So that, and to be able to watch that live, I mean, I was at the absolute other end of the rink, but I still saw it from afar. But even from there, it was such a great view to see. Chase Fraser is amazing, and I believe he's going to join that 5-year extension club, or at least I hope so, because Dan already got his, Josh got his. I hope Chase gets his as well, because he's playing in a contract year, but he's proven that he's crazy. He's showing all the highlights he would have shown you last year if he was
Hmm.
healthy the whole year. He's showing everything and then some, and averaging 4 goals a night. I mean, that's he's just begging for an extension at this point. So I would give it to him there. Uh,
I would.
Absolutely. And when you look at our power play has been very, very good all season long, unless you get a 5 minute major. I'm not really sure what the deal is there. At one point in the third quarter, we had a 5-on-3 power play
Yep.
with a 5 minute major and a 2 minute minor. And we scored one goal with 17 seconds left to go in the 5 minute major. But if you look at the regular minor penalties, Chase Fraser scored the second goal of the night on the power play, minor penalty.
Yep.
Josh Byrne, third goal for the Bandits. Once again, another minor penalty. And then Kyle Buchanan finally cashed in on that major penalty. And our power play numbers are still one of the top tier numbers in the league. We still went 3 for 6 on the power play, only took 8 minutes in penalties compared to Toronto's 13 minutes. And Tony, this is not a typo. This is not a typo. You asked me if it was before we actually decided to go on the air here.
Hmm.
22 of 33 in the faceoff dot. I know that they're missing their guy, and he was out due to injury, and they had a whole laundry list of injured players. But
Right.
Ian McKay, I was begging for 40, 45% on the pregame. He gets 22 of 33. That's 2/3 of the faceoffs. That's like 66% that they
Yeah, you
won.
can't
So
ask any more from that. I
huge
mean,
numbers in the
Ian,
faceoff dot.
that's I mean, what I mean, usually we would see that out of Max Adler if God forbid he was facing off against their best guy or possibly a replacement. But Ian McKay, question mark, exclamation afterwards. Man, I mean, how much more can you ask for from this guy? He plays it all. Does his forward job, does his transition job, and now he's a Fogo guy. Jesus, what more can you ask from number 4?
And he's a
And
goal scorer.
especially to score 2 goals.
And one of those goals being the goose egg that really gave the Bandits motivation there in that first half.
Absolutely.
That was the one that kind of broke through. It was only 1-0 after the first quarter. And I'm like, this might be one of those old fashioned Bandit Rock games where it ends in like 9-7 or 8-5
Yep.
or something crazy low scoring like that. This game was weird. It was wacky. It was crazy. The fans there got really, really loud. I'm talking about the Toronto fans. They were really, really loud around us, and it was just back and forth the whole time. Those fans there treated us awesome. So we want to thank the Toronto Rock fans. They were like, you know what, this is a back and forth game. We got our money's worth. Trash talking, a little bit, but it was all fun. It was sitting 3 rows behind the net was pretty cool too. But we were on the side where all the Toronto fans were. I guess we missed the memo that the Bandit fans were on the absolute other side of the rink. But it was cool being in the Lions Den. It was awesome being there in the Lions Den and getting a bunch of. I stood up after Dane Smith scored the empty netter to go up 16-10, and
Yeah.
I'm getting this one old lady flipping me off. I'm getting these little kids booing me. I'm like, this is exactly what I want. Wearing that mask up there, I'm like, let the booze rain down. Like I love this stuff. And then that final minute, maybe minute 30, I'm like, what is going on? What is happening? I'm like, okay, it's 16-10, and then there's not going to be enough time for them to come back. There's absolutely no shot. We've held Tom Schreiber to a fat goose egg. They're down by 6 with 90 seconds to go. Like this game is so over. So I'm going to stand up and start trash talking whatever. Bandits almost made me look very, very, very stupid there in that situation. Something that
Well,
really can't happen. Matt Vince, every shot that he was facing in the last minute was going in the net, and I was getting a little scared there. Bushi with 2, and Tom Schreiber had 2 at the end of the game when the game was really put out of touch, but they made a run there. So I never thought that the difference in this game would come down to 2 empty net goals for the Bandits. Like when you have a 16-10 lead, I thought those empty netters were just insurance, to really solidify the game. I didn't think that an Ian McKay empty netter and a Dane Smith empty netter would be the game-winning goals of this game. That was a crazy last minute.
yeah, but again, like you said, this game's made out of runs. And if you just sit back a little bit and let the opponents come in through that little bit of tiny window, guess what? After the 7-goal run that we had, and like you said, we like, oh, it's locked, no worries, nothing like that. 4 straight out of Toronto. It's like, Jesus, you can't like give up on these guys because like Colorado, like Rochester, possibly New York Riptide, they will find a way to score past your best goaltender. And again, you can't sleep on Toronto because they just have that same type of firepower, no matter how you may look at it as the roster may say. But again, with Bushi and Schreiber and Craig and
Mark
Corey,
Matthews. Yep.
I mean, you could name them all, and they will find a way to beat you if you slack off. And that's what I felt like that last minute or so, they were slacking off. And that's, again, letting your opponents come right back into the game and possibly steal it if you let them. You got to play through the whole entire way.
What do we say? We never coast to the finish line because the guy in second
No,
is going to come up and pass you at the last minute, and you're going to be like, "What the
now that
heck
part
just
I do
happened?"
agree.
Yep. So you can never coast to the finish line. Chris Bushi with 2 of those goals. I mean, he had himself a night. So did Dan Lintner, former Buffalo Bandit in 2020.
Yeah, I miss Lintner.
He had himself a pretty decent night too. And what I said on the pregame was, if you want to win this game, you need to limit Tom Schreiber. They did for 59 minutes of that game. They limited him.
Yep.
They didn't just limit him. They shut him down as far as goals. Like, he got his fair share of assists. I believe he had 4 on the night, but he didn't he didn't score his first goal until 59 minutes and 17 seconds in the game.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yep, and then he scored the second one right away too.
Exactly. So limiting him was great. And Corey Small, look at him on the score sheet. You'll only find him, if you look back on it, you'll only find him once on the score sheet. I said, if you shoot low on Nick Rose, which they did multiple times, and he ended up getting pulled there late in the game.
Yeah.
Shoot low, the balls are going to go in. If you limit Tom Schreiber, you're going to win. And if you limit Corey Small, you're going to win. The score is definitely wacky, and 30 combined goals is crazy. But a win is still a win, and the Bandits are back to over 500 because you limited those top dogs. Of course, your Mark Matthews are going to score, and your Mazukas are going to score, and your Dan Lintners are going to score, and Craigs are going to score. Of course, because the secondary guys like to show up. But when you look at the Bandits side of things, I think that their highlight players are always 92 and 22. Dane Smith and Josh Byrne are always the top 2 guys. But if you look at the past, and we've said this multiple times, Tony, is Toronto does a usually good job at shutting down your highlighted players.
Yeah.
But that leaves room for your Chase Frasers and your Ian McKays and your Brandon Robinson, who, by the way, you want to talk about an ESPN goal that Chase scored. How about Brandon Robinson across his body, one hand on the stick, scoring the goal to go up 4-1? That was a great goal as well. That shouldn't be overlooked either. But yeah, when you shut down Dane Smith and Josh Byrne, they didn't really shut them down. They each had, what, 6 points?
Byrne had 7 and Dane had 6.
Yeah, Byrne had 7. You combine those, they have 13 points between the 2 of them. But Chris Kluche with 6 assists, Steve Priola with 2 goals, Chase Fraser with 4. When you shut down those top 2 guys, Toronto constantly lets the secondary guys burn them. And there's no adjustment there to be made. Nick Rose doesn't make any adjustments when he gives up every single low shot goal.
No, he doesn't.
It's almost like they're our little brother. They make the same mistakes, and the big brother jumps on those opportunities.
This is true, because you got to watch out for when, like Tehoka Nanakok also had 2 goals and 2 assists for the night. Ian McKay with 2 goals. You had Steve Priola, the captain. You usually don't see him score 2 goals in a game, and this is a surprise. Let him. And like you said, Chase Fraser,
Nick Weiss with 4 assists.
Had a goal. Yep. Nick Weiss with 4 points on the assist column. I mean, our depth is dangerous. No matter who you, like you say, it's so sick. No matter, you can say, okay, yeah, we'll shut down Dave Smith. We'll shut down Josh Byrne. Yeah, we got you guys. No, you don't, because look what happens. These other players step up and they say we could score too.
Yep.
And you guys overthink and overlook the situation where the Toronto Rock, God bless you guys. You guys have a talented roster yourselves, but do not sleep on any opponent this year, because believe me, someone new is going to step up and go, I can score goals, I can create plays, I can make assists happen, and I can beat your team. Lo and behold, the Bandits finally seeing on the better side of things by having a 7-goal run. That's what helps win you games. And I'm not saying you should just slack off afterwards, but again, continue to play through, keep your mindset at ease, do not take stupid penalties, and lo and behold, look what happens.
Yeah,
we won the game because of it.
I think if maybe you shut them down in the last minute, I think this podcast would be a lot different as far as like the energy. A 16-10 win against the top team is a lot more convincing than a 16-14 win. That's why I say this
True.
game was weird. And the fact that we
It
didn't give
was
up
weird.
our first goal until 20 minutes into the game, they still scored
Mm.
14 with guys like Jubenville out and McKenna was out. Their number one faceoff guy was out. The fact that they scored 14 goals with their top stars, other than well Schreiber, this was his first game back, and
Yep.
Corey Small being Corey Small. The fact that they were missing all those guys, Schreiber's first game back, he's getting his feet wet. They still scored 14 goals. And
That's ridiculous.
that's a reason why they traded for Bushi when he was playing in Halifax last year. They traded away I think future prospects for Mark Matthews, an experienced vet
Yep.
from Saskatchewan. They're bringing in
Yep.
all these guys because they want to dethrone the Bandits. I think they did a pretty solid job at least attempting to. They had
Yep.
almost, I mean, it was kind of like a similar situation with the Bandits last
Mhm.
year. They're missing a lot of their players, and they still put up an excellent fight at home. That's what we saw last year, and that's what makes teams dangerous when they have to face adversity. So, as Toronto prepares for a game against Calgary this coming weekend, you
Yep.
can't take any team lightly. You can't just write Toronto off. Oh, they
No.
lost to Buffalo. Their season's going down, whatever. No.
Uh-uh.
They still scored 14 goals with prospects from the taxi squad and old vets like Bushi and Mark Matthews. So
Yeah.
they're still a pretty talented team. And once those guys get healthy again, I don't see them collapsing like the Nighthawks did last year.
No, because you can't overlook like Rogers and Craig. Those are the other two names, like they're secondary scorers that can come up and score at will at any time they damn well please. But again, never sleep on any opponent, no matter what the roster looks like, and especially how, like you said, they traded up to get Mark Matthews, they traded it up to get Bushi off the Halifax. I mean, again, that tells you that they want to win as much as every team wants to win the championship this year. They want to dethrone Buffalo. They want to be number one, and they want to put that banner up where they rightfully belong to. But again, they have to beat the best tonight, or not tonight. 2 nights ago, they weren't the best. Buffalo turned out to be the best.
Yes, I think it was, and it was just a classic back and forth matchup. Like that's all you got to say. Toronto has had those games at the KeyBank Center where they're down by 5 or 6 and they come back and take the lead and win. We've seen those games in the old Scotiabank Arena or the Air Canada Center where the Bandits are
Mhm.
down late in the fourth quarter. They somehow get a rally going and they squeak a win out. We've seen the overtime games. We've seen the blowouts. That's what makes this Bandits Toronto Rock rivalry extremely awesome to watch. And I mean, I definitely got my money's worth at the game I went to. The fan experience was awesome. The game itself was back and forth. It was awesome. It was just an old classic Bandit Rock throwdown.
Yeah, I mean, you can always expect good games to watch when you're going up against your basically your division. I know it's all based on Eastern, Western, whatever conference they want to do it this year, but again, you got to look back from the beginning to now, how it all started and how it all came to. And this again is like a testament of who's going to be the better team. And the Buffalo Bandits proved to be the better team that night. So, but to face off against Toronto, Rochester, you had Boston back in the day. You
Yep,
also had, let's see,
the old
Philadelphia still
Nighthawks.
considered. I would say
Yep,
Philadelphia is still considered as the divisional type. And
for sure.
but basically, all I gotta say is that the game, when the games come down to this, like especially because who we got next this coming Saturday
Yep.
is another divisional title that we want to go up against and win. Um, you can't take any team lightly. That's basically the
Nope.
motto. You go in there, you play your game, and you just pray for the best and you hope to win. Um, Never unexpect anything less than what you've already experienced. You go out there and you fix the mistakes you make, and then you obviously outplay your opponent. And that again is going to show this Saturday coming up. But again, we'll make sure to have that on the pregame.
Yeah, and I think the head-to-head tiebreaker here is perfect. We needed this win in any playoff scenario. Let's say Toronto maybe drops a couple and we win a couple more. We get that head-to-head tiebreaker over them in the standings if need be. So that's
Yeah.
great. We get the head-to-head with them. We have the head-to-head with Colorado, who's won 2 games in a row. And
Mm-hmm.
man, if only we had that head-to-head against Georgia, that would have been something too. But just take it,
Sure.
one game at a time. Was the last minute of the game anything against Matt Vincent? I mean, he's given up 10 plus goals in 3 consecutive games. Is he showing his age? Personally, I don't think that was anything of regarding Matt Vince's talent. I think it was the attitude of the team. I think everyone on that team, including Johnny, including the goaltender, including Ian McKay, maybe our face-off guys and our offensive forwards, instead of going after the empty net, I think the Bandits thought the game was over and they could just, they could just coast their way to the finish line. Because you look at some of those goals in the last minute that Vince gave up, a 5-hole. I'm like, a 5-hole goal, Vince? Like, what are we watching here? Like, I can expect maybe a ripper from Corey Small going top shelf. Nobody's going to stop that. But I'm like, 5-hole, a bounce shot that you could have made a pad save. I don't think it's anything against his talent, and we really shouldn't be worried about Matt Vince. I think it was just the attitude of the team in the last minute. They're like, we got this, no problem. It's 16-10. There's no way this team makes a comeback. Oh boy, guys, in row 3, section 117 of the First Ontario Center, I could feel the momentum of this game shifting, and I'm like, you guys better stop the bleeding right now, because this would be an epic collapse if this game somehow gets knotted up at 16. But the attitude of the team should be all 60 minutes, give it all you got, never coast. Never coast.
No, you can't. You can't, because like you said before, your defense has got to be on point no matter what the outcome or what the score is. You got to just make sure you keep protecting Vince at all times, letting him see the shot as much as necessary. But yeah, again, nobody should be sleeping. It's like you said, it's a game of runs, and anything can happen at a flip of a switch. And you just have to keep playing through, no matter what the circumstances. You may be up, you may be down. You keep playing through, no matter what happens. You could be down 2 goals, you could be up 6 goals like you were. Never stop until the final horn.
Yeah.
End of story.
How did you win Game 3 last year? You took a 4
You never quit.
You were up 4-2, which somehow turned into a 7-3, I think it was, and then it was like 9-4. When you saw it was 9-4 in the third quarter, did you take your foot off the gas? Nope. You made that thing 13-4 and shut them down in that fourth quarter until the point, and well, it was actually unreachable with less than a minute to go in that game. That's how you won it. Remember, that's how you won it. You can never coast. It's like it's a game of runs. All they need to do is win a faceoff and score, and it's a 1-goal game with like 20-something seconds. Like that idea scared me a lot. And I'm like, and give props to the Toronto fans, because none of them really left even after Dane made it 16-10. It was still a packed house. I was turning around with my brother who was next to me, and I said, if this was the KeyBank Center and the visiting team made up 16-10 with 3 minutes to go, they're beating the traffic. Like half of the arena is gone. So I'm like, you know what? Credit to them. It's almost like they knew something was going to happen with the Rock there and making a little push towards the end. But wow, that game, the back and forth nature makes up. I think it's going to be a great time when they come to the KeyBank Center. I believe that's going to be in March, I think. That's going to set themselves up. March 16th. That's going to be a great game. I think that's the St. Patrick's Day game, now that you mention it, against the Toronto Rock. So it's going to be, I really can't wait for that one, because you always know that you're going to get a good game between these two teams, a very physical game, a very back and forth type of game. Do you get the occasional blowout? Yeah. I mean, that's going to happen in a rivalry sometimes, whether it's the Bandits coming out on top or the Toronto Rock. But I think it's one of the best rivalries in the game. I put it right up there with Colorado as far as like the most entertaining Bandit games to watch. The most physical, the most back and forth. It's Colorado and Buffalo. It's Toronto versus Buffalo. And until like Rochester or somebody proves that they want to re-spark this rivalry, the Rochester games back in the day is what I compared to the Bandits and the Rock now. Like, you always knew you were going to get a good game. If you're talking like 2007 Bandits Nighthawks, it's the same thing with the 2023, 2024 Bandits Rock games. You always know you're going to get a good show.
Well, hopefully this time we got, come around and we got to play another tough team, and we keep moving forward from here. I mean, we have, what is it now? 4 or 5 games now down the stretch that we still have that before our next break.
Yeah.
So you keep up the momentum. You just don't go one and done. You keep that momentum going. We need a good string of wins, I feel, if that's what the Bandits are going to continue to do to win their division and to press on for the playoffs. But again, like you said, one game at a time. Whoever our next opponent is, that's all we focus on. And the next game is Rochester here in Buffalo on the Saturday.
Rochester on February 3rd and at Halifax on February 16th, followed by another home game against Rochester on February 24th. So 2 out of your next 3 games are against the boys that you know how to beat down the I-90 in the Rochester Nighthawks. And we do have a little
Yeah.
bye week in between there. I don't know if that's when the NLL's doing their Montreal game between I believe it's is it
Toronto
Halifax
and New
and
York.
it's Toronto and New York. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if that's the weekend that they're doing it. I don't know if there's any other games going on during that week, but the
Mm-hmm.
Bandits do have a bye week after our next Rochester game before they gear up and go to Halifax. The good news is the Bandits have proven over the years that they know how to take care of both of those teams. And even though a lot of those games are close against Halifax, the Bandits seem to clutch up and play some strong defense against those guys. But a big win against Toronto is a spark in the right direction. Coming off of it was like chasing the dragon against the Riptide. They finally caught it. They tied the game, and then Jeff Teat comes in at the end of the game and scores and kicks us back down. So after a sour game against the Riptide, we come in with I don't want to say really convincing, but 16 goals against an undefeated team at the time is pretty damn good. You should pat yourselves on the back for that.
I agree. You get, like I said, 16 goals against the #1 team in the league and proven to be undefeated no more after the Buffalo Bandits handled them very nicely. Like I said, guys, this is a game of runs now. The game's changing every now and then, so you just got to keep playing through. You got to make sure to just play as one. Don't take any stupid penalties, and you'll end up on top. So one game at a time. We got the boys in Rochester next. That's all we need to worry about coming in.
So Tony, who's your player of the game? There are multiple different candidates here for the Toronto Rock and the Buffalo Bandits, but this is a Bandits show, so we're going to give a Bandits player after a big win in Hamilton, player of the game. Who would your player of the game be?
Well, I mean, you can look at all the stats you want. You can make sure to say, well, the top scorer was Josh Byrne. The playmaker was Chris Cloutier. I got to go with Chase. Chase has been the guy who has proven time and time again that he needs an extension on his contract and that he should deserve like the 5-year deal. I mean, really, when I first heard that he got the year, I was like, okay, I'm glad he's back, but really just a year?
What a low ball.
Come on. Yeah. I mean, I would have preferred maybe 2-3. I would have accepted.
Oh, hell yeah.
A year? Come on. He's proven time and time again. He rightfully belongs here in Buffalo.
He got a 1-year deal last year, too. Remember that?
Yeah. And again, 4 goals proves that he can score as good as any of them out there. So my go-to guy is Chase.
Yep, I would go with Chase Fraser, too. I mean, you talk about the highlight reel kind of goals that he brings, the physicality that he brings. He takes a check to the jaw, to the chin, and he comes back in the fourth quarter and scores a highlight goal like that. I mean, there's only very few players in this league that can do that. And I think Chase Fraser is definitely one of them. If I had to get another player, a player of the game, it's got to be the captain. I mean, this has to be like how many goals in his career has he scored? Like, what's the most amount of goals that Cipriello has scored in a game? Probably 3. But the fact that,
or maybe even today was the most he's had.
I mean, he was like Johnny on the spot in front of the net, like wide open. Mm-hmm. I don't know how the defense can't see me standing right here in front of your net, but I'm going to cash in on these opportunities if you make a dumb mistake. And he was very physical, he scooped a bunch of great loose balls. Cam Wires had a very underrated game too, knocking the ball out 4 separate times. And I think Steve Priola was there for most of those loose balls. So despite the fact giving up 14 goals to a red-hot Toronto team, the defense had some areas of this game where they looked elite. And Cam Wires, bro, you keep that shoulder down, keep body checking players, you're going to get that ball every single time. I think that sparked a new confidence out of number 5.
Yeah, he's definitely proven to be one of the better defensemen that we've been looking for. No disrespect to any others in the past, but again, from a rookie that had slow feet in the beginning, he's really gelling into becoming one of the best defensemen on this team. So again, don't count out Cam. Don't count out anybody. I mean, Cam is that really tall, 6'7" speedster that could be as fast as anyone on that team. Because believe me, when he gets that ball and he takes off, he's already in the offensive zone going, where's my guys?
And God, if you're 6'7", he plays like he's 6'7". for sure.
Yeah, he sure does
Unlike
with
some
his
of the
checking
Sabres
abilities
defensemen,
too.
you know, if you watch a Sabres game, a lot of those defensemen are 6'5", but they play like they're 5'5". So
Yeah,
it's good to see them playing up to their advantage, playing up to their height. God gave you a 6'5" body. Use it. Like
that's
you
right.
got to play physical, knock the ball out. And I mean, he's like, I think his attitude was like, I don't care if you're Chris Boucher. I don't care if I grew up watching Mark Matthews play. If I'm coming up against him, he's eating the turf. He's falling to the
That's
ground.
right.
He's getting checked into the glass. So I like that he really stood up to his competition there because there's some veterans on that Toronto team that he probably grew up watching as a kid, and now he's like, oh my
Or
god, I got to face against these guys. So it's and he almost scored his first goal as a Bandit too. He was on a breakaway and got robbed by the Toronto backup, I believe it was. I don't even know if that was Nick Rose, but he was on a fast break running super quick and he hit him right in the shoulder. I was like, oh, you know what? If you bounce that in your face against Nick Rose, it could have gone in the net. But he's going to get other opportunities, that's for sure.
Yep, he sure will. And again, like his main focus is being that stay-at-home defenseman, but also when they need to turn him up and turn him loose, he will go and
And
he
he's
will
got
take
wheels.
chances.
Yep.
He's got wheels, so it'll be fun to see him score goals as soon as he gets his feet wet a little bit more.
16-14 final from the first Ontario Center. Big win, big monkey off our backs. No undefeated teams in this league anymore. The Bandits
That's
currently have the
it.
fourth seed in the playoffs. Tony, hit him with a sponsor.
Hey guys, we'd like to thank those who are watching. We'd also like to thank our main sponsor, which is Mitchell's Tavern, located at 734 Sheridan Drive, up in Tonawanda, New York, for the best beef and wick in town and the great service. Go check them out, and tell them about us, the Banditland Boulevard. Trevor Hauer over there, Tony LaMonica, myself,
Yes, sir.
and I guarantee you guys will enjoy everything there because it's delicious. I was just there, just doing a podcast for my football pool, and guys, I'm telling you, you will enjoy the service, you will enjoy the food and the company that is there. All family based. They welcome all. So take a chance and go check out Mitchell's Tavern. And also, we'd like to thank those for watching us on YouTube. Give us the like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell as well, because every time we pop up, we want you to be a part of it. So make sure you guys give us that. And also for our listeners on every device possible known to man, for Spotify.fm and Anchor, we thank you so much for listening in and
Absolutely.
giving us that 5-star rating. And if anyone, and I'm going to repeat myself for the 1,000th time, if any of you want to be a part of the show, please message me or message Trevor over there, and we will
All you
be
need is a
more
phone. All you need is a
to get
phone.
you guys on the show. So there you go.
Exactly. And for all those, you mentioned your you mentioned your football pool. Those damn
Yeah,
Detroit Lions, man. What the
I know. I was really rooting for him.
what the hell, man? Dude, so was I. Like, I decided I'm gonna be a Lions fan for a day. I'm already tapping out. I don't know how you guys. I don't know how the people out there in Detroit do that every single year. Like, I'm not even a fan of those guys, and they ripped my heart out last night. So we got to watch the 49ers and Chiefs for the second time in the next 4 years.
I
So
know. I know.
that's fun. Because I think the last time they faced against each other in the Super Bowl, there was a global pandemic that happened like 3 weeks after. So
Also true. Also
yikes,
true.
big yikes. But good news is Bandits are 4-3, facing against Rochester next week. It's going to be a home
Yep.
game, so if you don't have your tickets, buy them. Bandits have a shot at going 5-3 and slowly climbing up that ladder, trying to take a top 3 spot in the playoffs. So things are
Let's
looking
get it done.
upward for the Bandits. We might lose a couple games, but you know what? The Bandits prove time and time again that they really never disappoint when the lights get pretty bright. So
That's right.
16-14, signing off from Banditland Boulevard. Trevor Hauer, Tony LaMonica. Bandits win. I think we got 3 words left to say to our viewers right here.
Let's do it. Ready?
Let's go
go
Bandits.
Bandits.
Let's go.
See you Saturday.
Back in Banditland, baby. Yeah.